they're having this discussion in Ashburn today, and whether it's short, yeah, let's do it, or long or short, let's not do it. Like, they're having the discussion. Are you interested in Odell Beckham Jr.? You're going, wait, what? Am I interested? Like, for who? Isn't he on the Dolphins? Nope, not as of this morning. Nope, he and the Dolphins agreed to mutually part ways. Apparently, the relationship is all good between OBJ and Mike McDaniel, but for whatever reason, they just decided it's not exactly what we want. I'd imagine part of it is, hey, man, I joined this team thinking I could be the last piece to push us into the playoffs and win a championship, and I'm kind of ring chasing at this point in my career. I'm playing for championships, and we're probably not making the playoffs. I'd imagine that's part of the calculation for OBJ. Well, if only there was a playoff team that desperately need. The Washington Commanders have an 86 or 83, whatever. It's all math that fluctuates. 80+% according to all of the different ones. Chance of making the playoffs, and thanks to the Noah Brown injury, even though they brought in KJ Osborne, they could use a receiver. And I would guess most people's initial reaction is, no thanks, he's not our type of guy. Because I think a lot of people think of Odell Beckham Jr. as I'm just going to use the phrase, prima donna, that he appeared to be with the New York Giants. I don't know that's who Odell Beckham Jr. is. I think Odell is a bit of an enigma. Based off of how he's handled kind of his outward persona over the years. I remember reading a really interesting ESPN The Magazine feature back. Does ESPN The Magazine still exist? Anyway, back when it definitely existed and there was definitely a print edition, I remember reading a feature on him where he agreed basically to let the feature writer follow him around and do the story, but he wasn't going to talk to the writer for the story. And so he was basically like, yeah, you can do all the things you usually do, but all you get to do is observe. I'm not interested in talking. He is enigmatic. That's fine. He's also, I think, really liked by teammates in multiple places. The Ravens don't bring you in to their building if you're a goofball, if you're a fool, if you're selfish, if you're any of those things. The Ravens signed him to a lot of money last year. When he won the Super Bowl with the Rams, like, the reviews on him as a dude and his competitiveness level and what he brought to the room, what he brought to the offense, what he brought to the team, extraordinarily high. And I even think that some of the immaturity earlier in his career, the fight with the fight with the kicking net and all that kind of stuff, like, that came from a desire of wanting to win and be more involved, not for statistics, but because he's like, man, we suck, and I need the ball because I'm good, and if I get the ball more, we'll suck less. Like, I think there's a lot of wide receivers that happens to, where they get painted as divas or whatever, and it really does come from a competitiveness of like, hey, this is how I help. Now, how you channel that and the effect it has on others, pretty important. Did Odell Beckham Jr. do an A-plus job of that, knowing sideline outbursts and getting into fights with kicking nets and teammates and whatever? Of course not. But he's not that guy anymore. He's 10 years older, basically. Maybe actually 10 years older. God, we're all 10 years older. When did that happen? But with Beckham, my questions are injury-related. He, of course, in that Super Bowl where he won it with the Rams, tore his ACL, and that was his second of his career, and he has not quite been the same player since. And I say not quite. He has not been the same player since. We are also farther removed from that, which is bad because he's older, good because he's farther removed from another ACL injury and has had chances to rehab it. I have not had the chance to go back and do what I did for KJ Osborne, which is, hey, let me watch every snap he played. He didn't play a ton of snaps this year, but I don't have a good feel for where he is health-wise. That's not my job. It is the job of the pro scouts of the Washington Commanders. And if they deem that he is healthy enough to help them and that some of his big playability is still there, his route running savvy, his ability to get open, and hey, man, you could come in and probably be wide receiver too. It'd be in a rotation. Like, who would have thought that Odell Beckham Jr. might want to sign up to be in a rotation outside with De'Ami Brown? But, like, realistically, that might be a good thing for him right now. Hey, you're going to be featured on passing downs. Our running stuff, we're probably going to let De'Ami handle that. We need your versatility. We need your big playability. He's not the biggest dude. He's not going to replace Noah Brown in terms of physicality, but they kind of signed KJ Osborne for some of that. Hey, we need another dude who can go be an insert player and lead block into the line of scrimmage or be a part of the blocking surface. That they're not going to ask Odell Beckham to do that stuff. But with the part of Noah Brown that they didn't replace was the big-bodied receiver, and not that Odell runs those routes the same way, but he's been in the league long enough, and he's skilled enough, and he's savvy enough that if you tell Odell, I need you to get open on an 8-yard hitch on 3rd and 7, or I need you to run this slant route and I need you to be available and be a friendly target, my guess, if he's got anything left in the tank, that's the stuff that's left in the tank. Because you don't need him to take the top off the defense. Terry's got that. De'Ami's got that. In a different way, Luke can do some of that. Ben Sinnott from the tight end position, again, different way, but like you got some of that in there. The stuff that they need is the hitch, the slant, that part of Noah Brown's route tree, and an experienced outside receiver like Odell Beckham Jr. becoming available on December 13th is not the worst way I can think of to fill that void. So, is that something you would like to see the Commanders pursue? Let's take some calls, though, at 301-230-0980. 301-230-0980 is the phone number. Odell Beckham Jr. is a free agent thanks to the fact that he and the Dolphins mutually parted ways. So, what do you do with that information if you're, say, a football team that needs an outside receiver? Let's go to Chuck. Chuck, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you, Chuck.
Hi, this is my first time calling. And before I make my comment, I have been in the Redskins locker room and the Miami Dolphins, Michigan State. There's something about receivers that they have a Madonna about them. And what made Joe Gibbs very successful is he always had character guys. So I don't think getting Odell Beckham Jr. will be good for building the team chemistry. They've done a good job of picking character guys. And right now, he has shown nothing that would tell me that he would add value. I think he would be a cancer to the team.
Chuck, what makes you think that when that is not who he's been for basically his entire career?
Then why did the Dolphins release him? He's been a Madonna.
Oh, okay, hold on. First of all, Chuck, the phrase is pre-Madonna. He's not a Madonna. Madonna's one of the greatest.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. But if you're going to sit here and call other people names, like other grown adults' names, you should at least get the name right. I think that's a bare minimum. Okay. Second of all, the Dolphins cut him because they have two other receivers that they are going to play over him. He's not getting a ton of snaps, and he probably would like to go somewhere. And rather than just sit around and not really play a whole lot, they thought it was better for everyone involved to let him pursue what he wants to pursue, and that's fine. Like, he's an adult, and if he has that conversation with Mike McDaniel and Mike McDaniel's cool with it, why would you not? And again, I'm not saying 100% that they should go sign him, but I don't think, like, there's just too many teams that have loved him. Like Lamar and John Harbaugh had nothing but great things to say. Sean McVay had nothing but great things to say. Matthew Stafford had nothing but great things to say. And you're probably just holding over the fact that he kicked or got in a fight with a kicking net once and calling him a Madonna?
No, that's definitely not the situation. I think it's more so. I mean, I don't know if you pay attention to all the other extracurricular stuff he does, but in terms of him, and I apologize, I have my kids in the back. There's
Believe
a lot
it or
of
not,
things
Chuck,
that he does.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is he's a good player. I think that he will add value to the team. I don't think he would be needed at this stage is what essentially I'm getting at. We do have our guys, and I don't think he's the best addition right now.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Chuck, for the call. Look, again, I don't know that he would be the best addition. I don't know that he is 100% the right guy. But, like, I think it's worth kicking the tires on, and that's kind of the point, right? The point is that he is a guy who has played outside in the NFL. he understands what it takes to win. Not just like understand what it takes to win in a macro sense. He understands what it takes to win in a like I have to get 7 yards here on 3rd and 6, and I know how to win this route. I know how to manipulate the corner. I've been playing in this league a long time. I know how to do that. And so to me, I don't have any of the character concerns. Like I don't know what extracurricular stuff we're talking about here. Like he's an NFL wide receiver. He's got no other stuff than most NFL wide receivers. Again, when he was younger, maybe a different story. Right now, like I don't think that stuff's an issue. Like he loves to go home and play with his kids, which it sounds like Chuck does too on the phones, which is great. Everyone go play with your kids. Your kids deserve to be loved. But I think when you talk about Beckham, the question is like, what are the reasons why he wanted to leave Miami? Is it a certain snap count or is it a certain opportunity? Because if the opportunity is I want to be on a playoff team, Miami couldn't provide that at this point because they lost Tua and they lost their chance at the playoffs when they lost Tua, even though he's trying to drag them back in now. If he comes to Washington, really good chance he makes the playoffs. And I'd imagine he also probably has some relationship with Jaden Daniels because of the LSU ties. So I think that is a relevant factor too. Like look at where he's thrived. Matthew Stafford, strong personality, strong leader, strong quarterback. Lamar, different kind of guy, obviously. Very different than Matthew Stafford, but like strong leader, strong quarterback. And I think Odell responded really well with that. Like he fit into the culture. I think Odell would be just fine. I think he's super competitive. But also if Adam Peters is like, actually, I know a couple stories that I can't tell you, but he's not on our radar. I would trust Adam Peters with that as well, which Toby Altizer's here with us as well. Toby, That is kind of the funny thing now is we just go, I don't know, whatever Adam says. That's the take, which is not exactly great radio, but like I think from a football standpoint, they definitely should kick the tires.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. I think it's at least worth checking out because, let's be real, looking at their wide receiver core, I know what Odell is now. He's not the Odell that we saw making a crazy one-handed catch in New York.
Of course.
But how many of the guys on this team have ever been a number one receiver in their life?
I
maybe
think
maybe back to high school,
right?
Not in college.
That's a great point too. And again, this is all coming up because Noah Brown's out, and they've replaced a little bit of what he does with KJ Osborne, and like that's great. But they're going to need other dudes to step up. But I think even beyond that, like Terry has never played in a wide receiver room with a true vet dude, and I think Zach Ertz has been really helpful in that this year to be like, hey. Like, this is how you do certain things. And I think Terry has learned from some of that and having some different type of people around versus like, hey, you're really good at this leadership thing. You're a year out of school. You're the captain now. And that's kind of what his career has been. And now, if they could bring in OBJ and even if Terry learns a couple tricks of the trade that help him the next couple of years, like, that feels worth it on its own.
Well, and it's just adding another guy that you're going to throw a lot on his plate because theoretically he steps in here, he's going to be at worst wide receiver 3, probably wide receiver 2, and step in and have a big role right away, which I think that's the bigger reason why he went out of Miami and like the role and opportunity combined. Like he was never going to have that with Miami. He was fine going there if they were going to compete for a Super Bowl. They're not. So now it's time to try somewhere else.
Right.
And for people that are talking about they're worried about him being a Madonna, the reality of what it is he's a celebrity. There's no doubt about it. He's one of the NFL's top celebrities, but he's not playing like it anymore. But he's also not causing problems.
Right.
In Baltimore last year, you didn't hear any problems.
No, you hear a lick.
So to me, like people are just worried about the celebrity being more than the actual production on the field. It's fine because he's still not causing an issue.
I'd also guess that there's probably some scarring of like bringing in big names from the past and like the previous regimes that did that and dudes that didn't work out. And it's like, oh, this big name. And it's like, he stunk. And it's like, yeah, they weren't great at bringing in the right guys for any reason in the past. But like we're talking about a playoff team late in the season, very specific need. This guy could potentially fit that need. Again, I'm not saying they should do it because I haven't watched the tape and I don't have the sources within the league that Adam Peters does. And by the way, like Mike McDaniel and Dan Quinn, if I'm remembering correctly, like they know each other and are probably fairly close. Like I'm pretty sure Mike was on the 2016 staff in Atlanta under Kyle. So like if there's questions, like Dan could get on the phone, and like Mike and Adam know each other because they were together in San Francisco. Like I'm sure if they want to sign Beckham and there's any questions, they could get on the phone and McDaniel would be like, here's what happened. Like, and if not, there's other people in that organization that have worked together. And so that's why these relationships matter in the league, and these guys have them, and thus we will, like, is this going to happen? I'm guessing probably not. But it's one hell of a coinkydink that, like, this dude's available and they have this need. And at the very least, like, they're having this discussion in Ashburn today. And whether it's short, yeah, let's do it, or long or short, let's not do it. Like, they're having the discussion because that's their job.
I mean, the reality is they're kicking the tires on KJ Osborne. And I like KJ Osborne. But if they're kicking the tires on KJ Osborne, what's the best he's ever been? Maybe you can recapture a nice 6-7 game stretch if you can make a nice playoff run with Odell Beckham. It's worth the shot. I'm not saying they should do it. To me, whether they sign him or not in the next couple of days, I'm going to feel the same exact way. Like you said, I trust Adam Peters, whatever he does. It's not great for radio, but it's kind of the reality of where we're at right now. But at the same point, what's wrong with kicking the tires on a guy like this when he's not going to cause problems off the field like so many people are worried about, and he could give you something that you just don't have? At the same point, it's also not like you're signing Odell Beckham from a decade ago or however long ago.
Of course.
So it's not like it's if they win, they get him somehow, they're suddenly a Super Bowl contender that they weren't before. So it's kind of like right down the middle. If you want him and you feel like he can help your receiving core, go do it. If you say, we're good, I think that makes sense as well.
Yeah, especially once you sign Osborne, like, very, very different players. Osborne can do a lot of blocking stuff, a lot of, like, just super reliable. You know, if he's your third wide receiver and everyone else is covered, like, he's probably going to wind up being in the right spot. But the dynamic nature of what Beckham might be able to bring, even if it's in very, very small flashes compared to what he used to be, I think that's worth potentially kicking around because it's an element they just frankly don't have on this offense.